just like that, we are back. It is the 4th and 1 podcast coming to you live from Lancaster, Lititz, and of course, Williamstown, Pennsylvania. It's your boy, AKA. Yes, I have washed my hair this week. Sitting with us, as always, it's the closeted gay man himself, Micaiah Schlicker,
nice.
AKA Captain Boring. And the guy who's definitely between your mom's thighs, it's not CFB3 Roberto or Robert. You know where to find us: Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, everywhere you get your podcasts at 4th and 1 Podcast. TikTok is 4th and 1 Pod. We should probably change that. But hey, we're just out here having fun. It was a wild week in the realm of college football. Guys, I don't know where you want to start. I don't know if you want to start with Indiana looking like a national champion. I don't know if you want to start with Georgia deciding to put on their big boy pants for once. Texas crapping the bed. Micaiah, you got to go somewhere. We have all sorts of things to talk about. Preview. I think we're going to mix in some preview and some look back, some rewind. So I don't know where you kind of want to start with that. Lots of good games this week.
Let's just start with the game of the week, or the game of the week that was, and that would be Georgia-Texas. It was a top 5 matchup, 1v5, and Georgia finally, when we said at the end of the last episode, Georgia's defense just wasn't playing with any aggression. Right? I said those words verbatim. Georgia's defense just is not playing with aggression. Robert said Georgia can't run the football, or isn't good at running the football, and the defense isn't good. Both things were accurate at the time of those statements. And then Georgia came in. Georgia got pissed off because no one was talking about Georgia. And Kirby somehow got these 20-year-olds motivated. The defense played with aggression for 3 out of the 4 quarters, and the running game was effective for 3 out of the 4 quarters. The only quarter that neither of those things were true was that third quarter, in which Texas kind of dominated and took over and got back in it just for a short period of time. But Georgia finally showed up and still are the top dogs when they're motivated. But the question is, when will they be motivated next?
You got it, dog.
Thanks.
That's a great comeback, Robert.
I mean, what more could I add to that? I mean, the guy covered the game from top to bottom.
When is Georgia? Answer the question. When's Georgia going to be motivated next?
When are they going to be motivated? Probably in the SEC championship game.
Are they going to make it there?
I think so. Because what helps the most is the fact that Alabama drops an egg again. And Georgia has... Well, they do have Tennessee to come up. But it's home. I mean...
So let's ask the question that you just...
Well, why don't you just get into Alabama there?
Well, no, that's what I'm wondering. Who was the worst loss? Alabama v. Tennessee or Texas v. Georgia?
Oh, Alabama. Having 2 losses in the SEC, especially now, because Alabama's not essentially granted a spot into the SEC championship anymore by there not being divisions. Now they actually have to play everybody and have to maintain being good. They just had to be better than what, like Auburn and
LSU.
LSU.
Yeah.
Okay,
and
so
Ole Miss.
Now they have to be better than everybody. And we're kind of seeing this year that, well, maybe Kalen DeBoer's not... Kalen DeBoer needs to be a better coach, first and foremost. They can't be going acting like they're shooting the damn basketball when they're trying to run a quarterback sneak. I don't know. Simeon, have you seen that?
No, I haven't, actually.
So I sent it to Micaiah, and they actually questioned the coaches, the offensive coordinator, and Kalen DeBoer about it. And they were just like, well, what we practice is what happens in the game. I'm like, so what? You just have Ryan Williams just acting like he's shooting a 3 from downtown to do what? The team's not.
Is this
you
just a
can
bad
tell.
distraction? Like,
I
was it
guess.
during the play?
Yeah.
So it
Like-
was a QB sneak. Ryan Williams
Right.
tries to distract somebody, I guess, by pretending to shoot a three.
A corner. Like, I don't know who he's trying to distract.
His mom, maybe?
For those of you watching on YouTube,
Your mom?
here's the play. Those two players right up there. You saw they kind of shot John. You'll see it again in replay here. They will. It is Ryan Williams and I think Isaiah Bolden. That might be his name. You see him shooting jump shots here in the back.
Yeah, so they were trying to be distractions. It's Robert, your point, while valid, I think your example was incorrectly used. This is
It doesn't do anything.
Remember that dude who fell down, pretended to be dead, and fell down? Like, it's probably 10 years ago at this point.
Yeah.
That's the vibe that it gives me.
Yeah. So it adds, like, that kind of shit never happened. Sorry for the language, but that never happened under Saban.
Sorry, Mom. Well, because Saban would know better. So this is
Right.
this is a question that I posed.
You are coaching Alabama. You are supposed to be the pinnacle of college football, and that's what we're doing now. Like,
I posed this question to
in?
Micaiah. I'm going to cut you off. I posed this question to Micaiah, and I'm going to pose it to you. It's more of a thought process that you're going to reply to. It seems like the maturity has gone out of college football this year. I don't know if it's Nick Saban leaving. I don't know if it's Nick Saban and Jim Harbaugh leaving. My guess, it has to do with NIL and the kids not caring as much and the kids being able to have more swagger because they can be held to less of a standard because they can't get kicked off the team because they're making money and so on and so forth. Is that more what you're thinking? Like, because to me, this is just lack of maturity. This is lack of knowledge.
Yeah. Well, ultimately, it's probably a combination of everything. You know, you had a coach who was hard-nosed and was, no, this is how we're doing this. No, there's no BS, no clowning around. Like, it is, we're here to play football. You're here to get better. You're here to go to the NFL, here to win championships. And while the mission goal is the same, it's a more relaxed, like, oh, it's okay. Like, go have fun, like, do your celebrations and stuff. And it's like, which is fine. You can do that. But when push comes to shove, you got to win the damn game in order to be celebrating, hooting, and hollering. Like, these kids do make money. And that's why before when I said to Micaiah, where people were having an issue with the way fans are kind of treating the players. And it's like, well, they're being paid now. They're not kids anymore. Now they are paid adults through the college. So when I am paying $200-$300 to go watch these guys play, I'm expecting them to be at their best and win. And when they don't, and you give me a crappy product, I'm going to be a little upset. I'm going to put the kids where they need to be put in their place. And it is what it is. Like, you can't baby them anymore. There's no umbrella safety bubble anymore.
And I'm just going to jump on your comment in terms of when the kids don't perform the way that you expect them to. I'm just going to catch everybody up with what happened in the Alabama-Tennessee game for those of you that do not know. Listen, Alabama went in there. It was 7-0 at halftime. It was 10-7 Bama in the third quarter. Alabama had 2 turnovers, 23 first downs. They had more time of possession than Tennessee. Tennessee has evolved in 2 years, has evolved from an all offense, no defensive team to a mostly defense and running game team. Like Nico Iamaleava, like he is right now for where his recruiting status was coming in is by far overhyped. I get it. This is the first year starting. I'm not saying he is a bust by any means, won't make the NFL, won't make any improvement. I'm just saying as of right now, he was the most coveted quarterback I remember of his class, and he is not living up to the hype.
I think he's improving, though.
He was barely 50% on the day, 14 to 27, 194, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He had 3 or 4 wide receivers wide open. And by wide open, I mean they were 2 yards behind the defense, or 2 yards a defender was not within them, 2 to 3 yards, and he mailed it each time. The touchdown and the long pass up the sideline in the third quarter, and then the touchdown in the fourth quarter, he almost overshot his wide receiver, and his wide receiver had to make an incredible catch to complete both those passes. Now, again, it's a team game. Let's flip it over to the other side. Jalen Milroe, he was under pressure up the middle all night. Tennessee, I was listening to the College Game Day podcast. Tennessee took Michigan's Rose Bowl playbook and just replayed it for Jalen Milroe right in his face, which was linebackers up the middle, set hard edges so he can't escape, and watch him try to complete passes. And he threw 2 interceptions, and it just was not their game plan. So that's kind of what happened, as my fidget toy just flew apart in my hand. So that's cool. So, yeah, Tennessee gets a win.
Good.
Alabama has 2 conference losses. Tennessee and Georgia are now set for a epic matchup here, I believe, next weekend. Not this coming weekend. Yes,
sorry,
it is next.
I'm sorry.
It's 3 weekends from now. It's the 16th of November. That is at Georgia. That will be a fun one. Current SEC standings: A&M, LSU at the top, undefeated. Then it's Georgia, Tennessee. So A&M, LSU play this weekend. Tennessee, Georgia play in 2-3 weekends, depending on how you look at it. So the SEC might be set here in the next couple weeks with who is going. It's a fun time or it's a not so fun time in Titletown. It's a great time in Volunteer Town.
Yeah, the SEC has kind of been the loser in the whole conference realignment thing, I feel like.
No, I wouldn't say that. I would say Rob's point of it's not the East for a while was Georgia, and before that it was Florida, right? And it was every year they got a cakewalk. And in the West for a while it was Alabama and just LSU, right? It was those 2 teams. It was basically Big Ten East scenario between Penn State, Michigan, and Ohio State. Now I feel like the SEC is more entertaining because you don't know who you're going to get. And so I wouldn't say that they got the cheap end of the bargain there.
That wasn't my point.
I just think it became more what's the word I'm looking for?
Parodied. There's more parody in
Thank
it,
you.
is what you're looking for. And that's my point as well. My point is that for accepting Texas and accepting Oklahoma, now granted Oklahoma has looked like absolute dog water and they fired their OC, right?
Dog water.
I think they fired their OC. Didn't Oklahoma fire their OC?
Yeah. Yes. Littrell. Yes. He got fired.
Oklahoma and someone else fired their OC. Purdue. No, someone else, I thought. Anyway, doesn't matter. Another Big Ten school. I don't remember who it was. But I just think they got the short end of the stick. Like, I don't think they thought it through. Well, let me rephrase that. I think Nick Saban leaving and them accepting Texas, and Texas just looking like the juggernaut that they have up until last week, the dice hasn't rolled in their favor. Let's put it that way. I think that's a better way of putting it.
Well, and NIL is going to help with parity because the 4-star backups that are sitting behind other 4-star backups or even other 5-star backups, right? They're not going to stick around anymore. They're going to go find somewhere where they can start. So places like, and this is a great transition on my part, Indiana can now all of a sudden look really good. Rob, let's get into Indiana a little bit. Nebraska comes calling. I took Nebraska plus 6.5 just on one of my Saturday, kind of woke up. Hey, that looks good. I think this will be a close game. Nebraska's tough in the trenches. Indiana basically made Nebraska look like a low-tier MAC team, high-level FCS team. And Indiana looks, again, they haven't played anyone real good. Indiana looks like the best team in the Big Ten. I know they haven't played anyone good. I would still take Ohio State and Oregon, but let's get into Indiana a little bit.
Yeah, the team, I mean, they look like world beaters at this moment. The team, the Nebraska team they played, I do think Nebraska is a good football team. Not like top tier at this moment,
Right.
but I mean they made Nebraska's offense make, especially Raiola, they made him make a lot of mistakes. They put Nebraska in situations that they haven't been put in before. I mean, they ran the ball just all over Nebraska's defense. The team, they just looked good. Nebraska didn't look good. Indiana looked great. I didn't expect Indiana to come out and just put 50 on them.
56-7 final score. They have scored over 40 points in every single game but their first one. So from week 2 on, Rob, they're sitting at 4-0. They were the second team to have 7 wins on the year, right behind Oregon. And the only reason that happened is because Oregon played on Friday night. Indiana played on Saturday at noon. So they were, 12 hours behind them, basically, Eastern Standard Time. And then, Rob, let's get into this. So they're 4-0. Tell me where the loss comes on their schedule that they won't make the Big Ten title game. And I'm going to go game by game, and you say yes, no. Yes, meaning that's where the loss is coming. Ready? Here we go. Washington this weekend.
I'm going to say yes.
Yeah,
and I'm going to tell you why. Rourke had thumb surgery.
Oh, okay.
So backup quarterback. It's one of they shouldn't lose it, but it could be just that scenario kind of deal.
I looked at this guy.
I did not know that. Well, goes that segment.
Yeah, they're hoping he'll be back
for Michigan State, I think.
For Michigan State, Michigan at the latest, but they're hoping he'll be back. So I guess not severe thumb surgery. I don't know. You guys work with hand surgeon.
The rest of the schedule, let me just lay this out for everyone then. So Washington at Michigan State, home against Michigan, who now can throw the ball but still can't keep them from turning the ball over. At Ohio State, that's their big one, right? And then Purdue. Yeah. So let's say they even drop one. They're sitting there at 1 loss with a whole bunch of other teams, including Illinois, Wisconsin, Ohio State right now, Oregon and Penn State. I just think the way this season is going, I would be shocked if we have an undefeated team rolling into the college football playoff. I would be shocked.
I mean, the only hope you have is really Oregon, right?
Yeah, Oregon has the easiest schedule to go through.
So it's Illinois this weekend, then Michigan again, and then Maryland, absolutely not. Wisconsin, absolutely not. And Washington. Wow, yeah.
So, yeah, their path looks...
Miami's close, assuming they don't. I mean, Miami has Duke and Syracuse left, with a possible upset there at Georgia Tech, depending on if Hines King is healthy. I don't think it's ridiculous, but not to be rude, their toughest test was Louisville this past weekend. Currently. And I mean, I think it was you or Robert who sent that in the chat. The strength of schedule for the undefeated teams, pulling it up here on my phone. Oregon's 39th, Miami of Florida's 42nd, BYU's 55th, Penn State is 70th, Iowa State is 80th, Pitt is 103rd, Indiana's 109th, Navy and Army and Liberty are 132 through 134 respectively.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to mention the Big 12 teams, but with the way the Big 12's going this year, both BYU and Iowa State have a loss somewhere on the schedule, right? So Iowa State has Texas Tech next weekend. Texas Tech, solid team, got blown out. Kansas is a lot better than their record. Not granted, probably a 500 team. Cincinnati, Utah, and then Kansas State to finish it out.
That'll probably be the one there.
But that's what I'm saying. I think it'll come elsewhere. BYU's schedule is much more favorable at UCF, to which that over/under or that spread isn't nearly as much as I think it should be. At Utah, both away games. Home Kansas, at Arizona State, who's playing well, and then home versus Houston to finish out the season. I think you're going to get losses coming when you don't expect losses to come for some of these teams. Army, Navy, they both can't go undefeated because they play each other at the end of the year, and they both play Notre Dame. So more to come.
Good foreshadowing there, Micaiah. You know what really ticks me off? You want to know what really grinds my gears?
Hey, that was this old segment. that we used to have.
You
What
wanna know
grinds Micaiah's gears?
Oh, yeah, that you stole straight up from Family Guy? Yeah, that one.
Sure.
Jeez.
It bugs me that the Army-Navy game is not a conference game.
It is
I
a
wanna-
conference game.
No, but it doesn't count.
Oh, yeah.
That was confirmed to me by one of the old white guys on commentating this week, and that really sucks because I think we should start a petition to make the Army-Navy game a conference game now, for sure. Like it means something because like it doesn't count against the American. It's a non-conference game basically. That's a conference game. But who the heck cares? Question for you: if Vanderbilt beats Texas this weekend, should we just vault them right into number 12?
If Vandy beats Texas,
If Vandy beats Texas,
I would put, if they would win, I would say they deserve 20, somewhere between 20 and 18.
let me put it this way, Simeon. I think the Army Navy are both of them are better than Vanderbilt.
see, you say that now, and have you watched a single snap of Army or Navy football?
I have, yes.
Okay, well, darn it.
I mean, it's not like it was on one of the 8 games we had on that one day.
Yeah, I mean,
but that was against Bucknell. We don't count games against Bucknell.
okay, listen. Did I watch more than 10 snaps of Army and Navy?
No,
probably not.
but this is gonna be-
But this weekend, I'm going to watch a bunch of Navy because they're
that
on at noon.
Notre Dame game is kind of awesome. It's
Yeah.
on ABC. Oh, it's at MetLife? What?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
So,
saw that.
so what happens is Notre Dame says, yeah, we'll play you guys, but we want more of our fans to be there, so we're not going to play at your 25,000 seat stadium, at the Army base there. We got to go play at MetLife. And so Notre Dame gets their wish, and that's what happens with that.
I would like to
It's
apologize
a
to
naval yard, but I mean,
Navy
that's
base.
okay.
Yeah, to all the Navy fans.
What
that
did
we
I
have
say?
listen. An Army base?
Oh,
Their literal
whatever.
name is
Son of a bitch.
Navy. You un-American SOB. Move your white ass to Canada where
Are
it
there
belongs
guns?
after
Are there
saying that.
guns? Are there guns?
There might be.
Okay.
We don't know.
Then it's
the
an Army
Navy.
base. It
They
doesn't
might
matter.
have
Army base
torpedoes.
covers everything.
They have
Army
I
rockets.
need
Army
the
base will
fact-
cover Air Force, will cover Navy,
No.
will cover Army. Yeah, no. There are guns on the base.
See,
Therefore,
now,
it's an
when
armory.
you told me that there were people on TikTok who had an issue with me, I need the entire TikTok military crew to go after this man.
Oh,
for
yeah, yeah.
disrespecting the Naval Academy like that.
Listen, I'm well aware. I'm well aware that I made the wrong statement. But
He looks like a midshipman, though. Ain't that the truth, huh, Robert?
hey,
Listen, I'm
Go-
a Navy fan, so I don't want to
yeah,
hear
go
it.
Navy, beat Army.
I was-
Okay,
yeah,
I have
I was-
always rooted.
Go Navy,
for-
beat Notre Dame, and fuck Notre Dame while you're at it. Sorry, Mom. Listen, we can suck this year, and I can still be a pissed off Michigan fan. Oh, we've lost the plot.
We don't
That
have
is
any
for
quarterbacks. It's so depressing.
Sure.
This is
Hey, Dave-
literally it for Navy.
What do you mean?
All they got to do is win this game.
Yeah, but then guess what? You think, okay, all they have to do is win this game. Then they win this game, and then in 3 weeks, they will just get their brakes blown off by whoever they're playing that week. Like, a loss is going to find all of these teams. Like, that's just how this year is going.
See, you say that, but these are the most disciplined teams
Sure, but
on
but
the
at,
fields now.
But at some
I
point, a
think-
game plan also catches up. Like,
Yeah, I mean, they still have, and also, Robert, what are you talking about? They have South Florida and Tulane.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry.
Hey,
Two
do
teams known
not-
to make upsets.
do not
South Florida Bulls.
disrespect the wave, okay?
And the Green Wave at a Tulane, who should be in the SEC if they had any balls. But
How dare
I'm
you,
sorry.
sir? How
still
dare
allowed
you
to.
disrespect
Yeah,
the
I know.
Green Wave?
that's why they should cash in.
First of all, how dare you?
Number one,
Second of
how dare
all,
you?
the Green Wave are 5-2 and undefeated in the American. So how dare you?
Wow. Hey.
You're frozen, so this is doing nothing for me. But thank you.
I hear it. It wasn't
I'm not
frozen for
frozen.
me. Oh my. Yeah, we have no quarterbacks at Michigan, Micaiah. None whatsoever. We can't buy a quarterback. Literally, we can't buy a quarterback.
Literally, we're allowed
We're
to buy a
trying
quarterback, and we
to.
can't.
Dave Poitnor is trying to buy a quarterback for $3 million, and he is getting the runaround and the shaft, and everybody's trying to dip their hands in the pot, and so we cannot buy a quarterback. So what is the answer in Ann Arbor?
The answer is
Prepare for next season.
yeah. Because even so Jack Tuttle, he clearly can throw the football, but he can't not turn the ball over. So now we're basically stuck with Davis Warren. So it's literally Davis Warren who can throw the football but turn the ball over, or Alex Orji who can't throw the football but doesn't turn the ball over. And then it's a slightly older version of Davis Warren. It's so depressing. Because this roster is actually talented. All three of, the Texas lost besides that. So Washington and Illinois, those were very winnable games. Our defense actually played really well in both of those games. And here we sit at 4-3, depressed, even though we just won the national championship.
Hey, on a good note, though, we did sign a 5-star recruit today.
Did we?
Offensive tackle.
Okay, you know what? But I will take it because at least the recruits still want to come, right? So, I'm very interested to see what they do in the transfer portal because obviously that's the way it's going. I understand Dabo doesn't want to do it, but I think at some point every team's got to dip into the transfer portal a little bit.
Yeah.
All right.
So let's go get a quarterback.
Love that.
I got $5 for Dave Poitnor.
Speaking of transitions, we'll buy you half of one of the pizzas he ranks. Let's talk hot seats. We're going to start. Robert and I were talking a little bit about this off mic with Kalen DeBoer. Micaiah, you took exactly 7 games for him to be on the hot seat. Yeah, I find that hilarious. Alabama fans are so stuck up and so entitled that they think they should have 2 Nick Sabans back to back. Something that has never been done in the history of the game, barely in the history of countries.
Well, let me tell you why, Simeon. First of all, Michigan fans doing the exact same thing.
I'm not.
My
expectations were low, and they are meeting them there in the basement.
Listen, Michigan fans are acting like they were the Alabama dynasty when they were good for 5.5 minutes with those 3 seasons under Harbaugh. 3 glorious seasons, by the way. So Kalen DeBoer, why he's on the hot seat? They have not had multiple losses before the month of November since, drumroll please, Nick Saban's first year in 2007. And that would be the year, oh, there it is, that they lost to Louisiana Monroe. So that is why they are upset. And I get it. Robert saw this coming, so kudos to you, Roberto. It's kind of a shame because I do think DeBoer's a good coach, but it's hard to live up. It's hard to, as Colin Cowherd says, it's hard to be the guy after the guy. And both Sharon and DeBoer are trying to do that.
I mean, the worst part is these are Saban's guys. So it's it's not even like this is his team yet. So we don't know what he really is yet for DeBoer. I mean, we can sit there and be like, oh, well, he did this, and this, which is fine. But like I said before, the dude's only ever been really anywhere for 2 years and then he leaves. So we don't know what kind of recruiting class he brings in. He just brings in transfers. But now he actually has a team full of really good athletes. And we're kind of, he's 5-2.
But this also isn't the type of quarterback he wants, right? He wants a fair general pocket.
Almost the same thing as Penix.
Pocket passer. No, Milroe would much rather run. Penix wants to sit in that pocket and not move. Right? Wouldn't you say so?
At Washington, he didn't run as much, but at Indiana, he was more mobile.
He was more mobile, but
I
still,
also don't think
still,
Penix could run anymore because he didn't have an ACL in either knee.
Right, but even Penix was the better passer, and that's what the Boer system needs. He needs a dime dropper, if you will, like someone who can drop in a ball over the corner on a go route. I don't think Milroe can do that.
I mean, those kind of quarterbacks are also very far and few between.
Correct.
So it's like, is he going to find? Is he going to find one of those? The only saving grace is the fact that a lot of kids go to Alabama just because it's Alabama. And if Alabama has maybe 3-4 years where they're not, say they have 3 losses this year, 3 losses another, they're not undefeated and stuff like that. Then we'll start seeing the recruiting classes really, I think, start going down. But I think at that point they'll probably start kicking DeBoer out.
The biggest shock to me, and if I was an Alabama fan, which I'm not, I'm an Alabama observer. My biggest gripe with Kalen DeBoer is the defense is a lot worse. The defense doesn't play with the same aggression as it did under Nick Saban. And Rob, you said that these aren't really Saban guys. I really feel like Nick Saban felt that's why Saban retired, is because he felt like the kids on the last 2 recruiting, like after Bryce Young, those kids weren't really his guys either. They were just there for the paycheck, there for NIL. They weren't really there for Crimson Tide in Alabama. And so that's what every coach is fighting. But yeah, the defense, my biggest gripe if I was an Alabama fan would be the defense doesn't play with aggression. I mean, it's, what do I have here? It's like 50th or something. It's 42nd in the nation in points allowed. And the secondary is just quite awful, is quite porous to say the least.
Sorry, I'm looking at, did you guys know that JMU lost again this weekend?
I did see that in my looking about today for the preview games. Rob, any other coaches on the hot seat that you would consider on the hot seat?
That's right. We were on a topic.
Yeah,
go ahead, Robert.
Sure were.
I forgot, you guys were blabbling so long. I completely forgot what we were talking about.
It's kind of hard to say. Like, I don't think there's any like big teams out there right now where they're like, wow.
Could Lincoln Riley?
Other than Florida State, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, that one's kind of a shoe-in.
So,
but, I mean, Link probably could, but the hardest part, I think, for judging the new additions to the Big Ten is just these teams obviously aren't built for the Big Ten yet. Yeah. Oregon's just a very fast team, which that's just what Oregon is. Oregon and Ohio State are almost like identical teams. That's why the scores are so close in their games. But, like, USC isn't built for the style yet. Like, they didn't adopt what Oregon did. And they just went for straight speed. They tried to like do a hodgepodge of like some speed and some strength, but it's just not working out yet. I mean, you could get rid of Lincoln Riley, but like I don't think it really does anything.
So there are 3 losses, all like on the last play of the game almost. Or literally all 4 of their losses almost on the very last play. Michigan, last play of the game, essentially. Minnesota came down to an interception. Penn State was a walk-off field goal in overtime. Maryland, they had the game won. That was 28-9. And then I look up and I'm like, Maryland just beat USC? How? So, yeah, you're probably right there.
Breathing life back in. Can we play the Kirk Signetti game?
Oh, sure. We can play that game. Yeah.
Okay, so this is what we're calling Where is Kirk Gonna Go? The honorary Where is Kirk Gonna Go game, i.e. what coaches are on the hot seat, which ones do you think are gonna go? Now, obviously, and I want to make this very clear, for teams like Kent State, probably he's not gonna go there. But I would say their coach, who's gone 1-18 in his career at the Golden Flashes, is probably on the hot seat. Dude was the running back coach at Millersville in 2007. So
Millersville sucks. So
that's his first
why.
mistake right there. Joe Moorhead, probably on the hot seat, I would say, at
Right,
5-26 as a head coach.
We should have renamed this. What SEC school is getting Kirk
well, there's a
Cignetti?
few. So let's look, because it's a 2 question. Because, like, let me go to the SEC. Do you think Oklahoma and Kentucky are going to fire their coaches? They don't seem like they want to. But do you think if they finish the season like this, those 2 teams are going to fire their head coaches?
Oklahoma, no, because, again, it's kind of the Lincoln Riley thing where you just got to the SEC, and Oklahoma is in that transition period of trying to get bigger in the trenches. Also, they don't really have a quarterback right now, and their offensive scheme really kind of sucked. It wasn't a great SEC offensive scheme. Kentucky, if you're going to finally fire Bob Stoops. It's Bob Stoops there at Kentucky.
If you're going to
finally fire Bob Stoops after
Mark
a season,
Stoops. I'm sorry, it's
Mark Stoops. Like that after this season, like then what were you doing when he was like 7-5, right? In the earlier seasons, like you are Kentucky football. You're probably not going to get much better than you are right now.
Yeah.
What about Kenny Dillingham out in Arizona State for saying that there's public tryouts for kickers after his kicker missed 2 winning field goals?
He does need a kicker.
Everyone's been there before.
he had to put out that was more of a joke. Okay, so on for realsies, Florida State. For sure, right? There's no way Mike Norvell's not getting fired at the end of the year. I'm surprised he's not fired right now.
Well, there's some theory that he's not been fired because they don't want all the current kids to redshirt to enter the transfer portal. That's why you're not seeing midseason firing right now. This is how the college is combating this. I don't know at this rate because I haven't heard any talks of Mike Norvell being fired. But Rob, 1 good season in 4, you would have to imagine, right?
Yeah, well, especially with just the sheer drop off. Like you were potentially a playoff team, should have been, could have been, would have been playoff team, and now you can't even
buy a win.
Like it's like, I mean, if I had to imagine. Obviously, the boosters and everyone else is not happy, but I would imagine that they're going to sit there and say, we're going to go 1 more year, and he has to – they're probably telling themselves he has to have X number of wins. If he does not reach X number of wins, and it'd be like 10 or 11, then he's gone regardless. Because I think they're kind of like – I mean, that would be like Michigan winning the national championship. And then only having 1 win, like next year, and it's like, I don't think like they wouldn't get rid of Sharon, but like, or Harbaugh, they wouldn't get rid of Harbaugh, but they would probably give him like another year. Like, you gotta figure this out.
I think the real position is a couple for Kirk Cignetti. North Carolina, Mac Brown's probably on that way out. JMU, it's kind of in that recruiting region, right? So North Carolina's right there. Mac Brown that's probably going to be an amicable split. And then Florida's the other obvious answer.
So that's my question for the original game. Go ahead, Robert.
Are you really going to push out Hugh Freeze after his 2nd season?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Let me rephrase it. Are you going to really push out Hugh Freeze? Should you really push out Hugh Freeze after his 2nd season, even though his quarterback is Peyton Thorne?
Should you push him out?
That's a great question.
Probably Kyle. No. But with it being Auburn, and this might be their best chance of ever to actually beat Alabama this year without them scoring a ridiculous touchdown on like 4th and 30. Like, you're 2-5 right now. You are on pace to not win a single SEC game, and it doesn't look like you're going to win a single SEC game. When was the last time Auburn never won a game in the SEC?
Oh, he's already putting out fires. There's this video, and the title is Freeze shows appreciation for support from Auburn family. Oh yeah,
He
knows.
Yeah.
I mean, he's coached in the SEC before, right? It was over for him that quick. Where was he at? Ole Miss.
Ole Miss. Well, some hookers had to do with that. What I want to know, strippers, whatever. Same thing. What I want to know is why if I'm an Auburn fan, why I want to fire him is because Peyton Thorne was not good last year. You had a full transfer portal cycle, recruiting cycle, and you got no one else in. This is not the same situation as Sharon Moore. Sharon Moore got there late after the winter was closed. The spring was open, but really there were no quarterbacks. And you already had a 4/5-star in Jaden Davis there, so you did recruit somebody. So this is a hot mess express at the quarterback position.
So, Micaiah, you bring up a really good point, and this is why. Why do we like guys like Kirk Signetti and the guy at JMU, and I meant to look him up, and I forgot what it is. Chaney. I think
Chesney.
why we like
Chesney,
them. Chesney. Sorry. Why they're so hot.
Yikes.
I was waiting for Robert to give me the name. He's the one who knows the guy's name.
It's Chesney. It's not Cheney.
It's a CH.
Anyway, I think they're transfer portal coaches. And guys like Mac Brown, and what I'm wondering, Mike Gundy is another guy like Mac Brown. Hugh Freeze is a guy like Mac Brown. These older coaches who are great coaches but do not know what they're doing. I agree. I think Mac Brown's going to be gone by the end of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if Hugh Freeze retires. Not Hugh Freeze. Dear Lord, Mike Gundy retires at the end of the season. Because the game has changed so much, and you saw two teams that were on top of the world lose a quarterback and immediately drop to the bottom. Duke is a great example. Manny Diaz did a great thing in going out and getting whoever was the backup to Quinn Ewers, I forget the guy's name, at Duke, who looked great. And he was never going to start with Arch there. And so he transferred, and Duke picked him up. And that was Malik Murphy. And that was a great pickup for them. I think what we're looking at here, to answer your question, is we're looking at coaches who don't know how to use the transfer portal and kind of are refusing to in a way and need to. And these younger guys like Kirk, 37 transfers. He had 37 transfers. We were making fun of Dion, and we are seeing Colorado do something in the Big 12 this year.
Yeah, it's a little. Well, first of all, Mike Norvell, that's all he used is the transfer portal. But it's Kirk. What he brought is he brought 12 guys from JMU who already knew the culture, and it's a lot easier. Rob, I would have to imagine. I've never been in a football locker room, but it's a lot easier. I would have to imagine that once kids are bought in, they have a much easier time connecting with the other kids to have them buy in quicker. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's as long as it's, if you have a full locker room who has no clue what the coach wants, what the coach needs, what he's trying to do, I mean, you're essentially starting with your freshmen. So you're at least 3 to 4 years out.
Right.
Where if you bring in at whatever, like 11, 12, now you're still starting with your freshmen, but your sophomores, juniors, and seniors are kind of like, okay, they kind of get it accelerates it a little faster.
It should be noted, Indiana is a very old football team. And what I mean by that, a lot of transfers, a lot of fifth-year seniors, a lot of seniors, juniors, things like that, right? A lot of draft-eligible guys at the end of this year. What does Kirk look like next year? And I'm not saying I expect an Indiana fall off. I'll probably be sitting here and saying, hey, they're probably right under the big boys, but in the Big Ten. But I'm very interested to see, because we had that Michigan State, the Michigan State scenario. I go back to that. Michigan State did it. Miami did it for years. Like, coach would come in, they would get transfers at the time, or whatever. The Florida State scenario, right? Like last year was good. They brought in transfers. It was good. This year it's awful. So what happens when the team isn't a recruiting built team and everyone who was in that culture is kind of gone? Then what does it look like? And that would be my only question.
We'll see. Colorado. We'll see. Colorado will be the first.
Colorado's a great example, right? Didn't work out last year. Sort of working out this year.
They brought in more guys, but once Shador leaves, sorry, can't talk. What is that going to look like? What's the next quarterback look like? So on and so forth. What Travis Hunter leads. And the same, you bring up a really valid point, Micaiah. One last question before we transfer into previews. Does Kirk get out this year, or is he staying to Indiana?
Right. And that's the big thing. And I think it all depends on what jobs open up where. I just real quick before we go to preview, I just want to play a quick 2-minute game. I want everyone to pull up the top 10, AP top 25. We'll make sure you're only looking at the top 10. Okay. Here is my question that I will pose to you. In order, for those of you in America who are listening, Oregon, Georgia, Penn State, Ohio State, Texas, Miami, Tennessee, LSU,
America?
Clemson, Iowa State. Those are your top 10 in that order.
Canada or England have this list?
Which team is fake? And what I mean by fake in the top 10 is if they match up with any other top 10 team, it's probably a 2-score loss for them. Oof. So which team out of the top 10 is the fakest?
All of them?
I'm going to say Miami.
They're up there. But here's the deal, is Penn State.
Well, I mean, I feel like Penn State would have been the most obvious one. But
I feel like Oregon's also... State, and this is also, I'm judging them based off of this week. If they played another top 10 team this week, they had
that is the game this week.
Oregon's been on kind of a ramp up. Yeah, they had that big win over Ohio State.
Robert, for the record,
I mean, we played that game last week with Texas and Georgia, and the answer was Texas.
Miami's last 3 games.
For the record, I was also going to say the Hurricanes because they like to turn the football over.
They're top 3 for me.
If you do that against Dylan Gabriel, who then touchdown, it's 21-0 in a blink, and now you're fighting uphill, right?
He's finally feeling it. Micaiah, you bring...
I would also say Tennessee just because Nico is unreliable, yeah.
I think... Micaiah, I think you bring up... I don't know. I haven't seen enough Iowa State to call it or not. I don't know if we have another Brock Purdy situation there or not. But I think you're right. I think it's Penn State, Miami, Tennessee.
Iowa State, it is what you expect from a Matt Campbell team. Is Matt Campbell finally going to leave the Cyclones, or is he good there in the middle of nowhere, Iowa? That's what I want to know.
If he's going to go, it's going to be this year. Okay, the double hit. That's fun. All right. I texted the boys this week. I'm going to let him and Micaiah and Robert kind of do their thing as they normally do. We got a lot of good games, and we're going to start in New York at MetLife, noon on ABC. It is Navy Notre Dame. Micaiah.
All righty, so noon on ABC. You heard it. It's at MetLife. It's Blake Horvath. He's the quarterback and the leading rusher of the Navy midshipmen, who apparently, are a naval yard and not an Army base. Heaven forbid.
No, it's a Navy base. They all have bases. It's just a Navy base. You don't put Navy people in an Army base.
I think Navy people can go on Army bases, though.
Yes, they all can go on each other's bases. And Navy people especially like to go on other people's bases.
Hey, yo.
Specifically, it's not you don't call a Navy-specific station or base an Army base.
So it's a military base. Would that be better?
Military base would be great. I would
Okay.
love you forever if you just refer to them as military
on
bases
all,
now.
on all encompasses military base, okay?
Yes,
all right,
that
fine.
encompasses everyone.
Fine. So Blake Horvath might be the best quarterback in every single military base around the world, including the 3 here at home. Well, I guess there are more 3, but everyone knows what I mean. Anyway, we're getting off topic. Not only can Navy score both rushing and passing with Blake Horvath, they are 4th in the nation in both of those categories. Sorry about that. My alarm's going off. Their defense, though, is also really good. Ranks 19th in points allowed. This is going to be their toughest test to this date. It is number 12 Notre Dame, who are 5 straight wins since the loss to Northern Illinois. Their defense ranks 5th in the nation in points allowed. Their passing in game with Riley Leonard is slowly improving. It is 105th in the nation, but right now, just after really slow starts, it's kind of picking up here over the last couple games. Their rushing attack, though, is good. 18th in the nation. Rob, this is going to be a line of scrimmage game. I feel like Notre Dame is just going to pound away with their big offensive line. I feel like Navy has got to pull in some tricks and some good scheming, game planning. Give me your key to the game and give me your winner.
Well, the key to the game is always going to be turnovers. Who's going to take care of the ball? Who's going to be disciplined? Who's not going to shoot themselves in the foot? Generally speaking, Navy is more obviously disciplined.
There it is.
You know, that they're the military.
They're
so
from
obviously,
a military base, yeah.
Yeah, shut up. I think Notre Dame just has better athletes. So, I mean, I'm going to say Notre Dame is going to win, but I think this is going to be a very close game, and we're going to find out a lot about Navy, and we're going to find more about Notre Dame because this will be a big gut check for Notre Dame. It's not going to be a walkover. It's going to be like Navy is going to like punch them in the mouth, and it's going to be a very hard-nosed football game, like you said, on the line.
So the cheapest ticket in America is $2. Utah Houston, which I would not have pegged that to be the cheapest ticket, but that's
there's like 2 or 3 games that are $2, but
Okay.
This was like the most surprising one because I mean it was like Georgia Southern and
right.
So I was like, oh, Utah Houston, that's kind of
It's
odd.
very surprising. But let's get past that and let's go to the most expensive ticket at $239 a pop, and that would be in College Station. The cult that is Texas A&M. It is number 8 LSU, who's 6-1, 3-0 in the conference, taking on the number 14 ranked Aggie, who's also 6-1, and they're 4-0, excuse me, in conference. This game is 7:30 on ABC. That's where you can find it. Since an opening week loss to USC, LSU has ripped off 6 straight. Garrett Nussmeier has the passing game of the 8th best passing game in the nation, cooking at 322. Their defense is improving after that very slow first 3-week stretch. They are 35th in the nation in points allowed. A&M also lost week 1, and they have ripped off 6 straight. Their passing game has been the question mark. They are 107th in the nation, right behind Notre Dame. So Notre Dame doing quite better. However, Connor Wegman, their starting quarterback, was out with injury. He is now back. He is making slow progression. He threw 2 interceptions last week, but the week before, or 2 weeks before, against Missouri, he was on point. Their rushing attack is 13th best in the nation, and that Elko defense is not disappointing and has upgraded that unit immediately, ranking 17th in the nation. Robert, besides turnovers, LSU, give me a key to the game. LSU, A&M, and give me a winner.
LSU needs to run the ball, and that is something that they are doing very poorly.
Yep.
I think as long as A&M stays hot, Connor stays hot, doesn't throw picks, I don't see a way that A&M doesn't come out at least by 10.
LSU is 96th in rushing yards per game. So, Robert, what a great call there. Simeon, do you have between Navy, ND, and LSU, Texas A&M, you got a winner?
I'm not going to comment on Navy ND because they're in my picks later.
Okay.
The LSU Texas A&M. I'm going to pick Texas A&M for fun.
Okay, for funsies. Love it. Number 20, Illinois versus number 1, Oregon. This is 3:30 CBS on Saturday afternoon. Why is this important? Because Illinois somehow is 3-1 in conference. Oregon is 4-0 in conference. Oregon is cruising along outside of their first 3 weeks, and then that game to Ohio State. They're 13th in the nation in passing. They're 70th in rushing. Their defense is 13 in points allowed. I don't know how Illinois has only lost one time, because they're 81st in rushing attack and 79th in passing. Their defense is 22nd. So I guess defense and ball control, not really sure here. Robert, what does Illinois have to do to pull off the upset in Autzen on Saturday?
Got to slow Oregon down. Got to play defense. Keep it close. You keep it close with Oregon, you can beat Oregon. Illinois' defense is good, kind of, but like they just got to keep it close. If they can stop the run game and limit the passing game, keep it close, and just kind of pick away at Oregon, Oregon's going to make mistakes. That's just what they do. Dylan Gabriel. He does it. You know, he has 4 picks on the season, but he's going to find a way to throw more because Illinois is going to be all over the field. I do believe Oregon, though, still comes away with a win.
I agree there. Simeon, do you disagree about Oregon?
Yeah, I didn't, unless Illinois can slow the game down dramatically. I think this is a win for Oregon.
All righty. And then also at 3:30, as on another network, that would be ABC, is the number 21 ranked Missouri Tigers. They're 6-1, 2-1 in conference at Roll Tide, Roll Alabama, who is now ranked number 15. They're 5-2 and 2-2 in conference. Alabama fans have already written Kalen DeBoer off, and he is on that hot seat. They're 37th in passing and 59th in rushing. So offense, not really the problem, but not really clicking on all cylinders either. The problem has been on the defensive side on the ball. It's very up and down. It's 42nd in the nation in points allowed, but sometimes that secondary looks like it's 81st in the nation in points allowed. Missouri has been good and not great by any means. They've been good outside of the beatdown from A&M, but not great. Bunch of one-possession games, including on Saturday when they had to come back down 11 in the fourth quarter to Auburn. Rushing attack and passing attack are 50th and 53rd in the nation, respectively. Defense got a head start with 2 straight shutouts, but has been okay since. So that 10th overall ranking in points allowed is a little deceiving. Robert, are you expecting a quote-unquote AP ranking upset, Missouri over Bama this Saturday?
No. Missouri very well could be the worst top 25 team that is out there. They literally needed their quarterback to come back from the hospital.
Yeah, that is
in
right.
order
Brady
to beat Auburn.
Brady
Alabama's got to come play pissed off. It's the name of the game. They got to simplify the game, come play pissed off, and they just have to win. They have to get back to the basics, run the ball, get the ball out of Milroe's hand, and just play the game. And stop trying to force the ball to Ryan Williams. Stop trying to force it. If he's open, throw it. Not open, don't throw it.
You got a winner? Bama?
Yeah, Bama. Bama, yeah.
Simeon, you got a winner?
Yeah, Bama.
Okay.
Two scores.
Well, this worked out perfectly because the team that beat Bama, and that would be number 25 Vanderbilt Commodore at 5-2, 2-1 in conference, is taking on what we thought was the best team in the nation before Saturday. That would be the number 5 Texas Longhorns. Robert kind of looked ahead on the schedule last week and said, this is a trap game. Texas 6-1, 2-1 in conference. This game is on SEC Network at 4:15 because who wants to put on a game to start like on the even hours? 4:15. What is that? Vandy would be the darling of the season if it weren't for the service academies, Army and Navy, respectively. They've lost 2 games by a combined 7 points. Their defense is good against bad offenses and mid at best versus good ones. And so what do you get? You get a 50th ranking in the nation. Offense goes exactly how Diego Pavio good. If they play well, they win by a lot. If they don't play well, they're in a tough slobber knocker of a game. They're 94th in passing and 63rd in rushing. Diego Pavia leads his team both in passing and rushing. Texas is coming off being manhandled by Georgia for 3 out of the four quarters, and the one that they weren't was actually the third quarter, which was kind of funny. Despite allowing 30 to Georgia, they still have the best ranked defense in the nation. Ewers need to start cooking again. Since his return, the passing game has thrown for a total of 400 yards. And you're like, guys, that's like 200 yards a game. That's not bad. Well, it's well below the average on the season before that, which was 295. And before these 2 games, it was well over 300, which was 16th best in the nation. Does Robert, Texas, act like a pissed off SEC team and cover against Vandy? And I'll get you that number in just a second.
Oh boy, do we does everybody hope that Texas kind of comes and plays pissed off, because they
It's
definitely
18
need
and a
to.
half. 18 and a half.
I'm going to go ahead and say that they do cover, and they just try to take the roof off. Okay, I guess there's not really a roof in Vandy, but if there was a roof, they're going to try and take the roof off, because now Texas has to prove that it was not a fluke and that they're legit. For Vandy's got to just watch the film from Georgia. You watch that film and you just get pressure. Make Quinn get out of the pocket, make Quinn throw fast, and the interceptions are going to come, the mistakes are going to come, and the offensive line, if you get enough pressure, for whatever reason, that offensive line crumbled. But then Vandy also has to they have to withstand getting punched by Texas. That's an early bum rush by Texas. They have to withstand that storm.
So you got Texas here?
Yeah.
Simeon, you got Texas, or are you picking the upset?
So here's the hard part, and I'm going to go into a little bit, and I know I shouldn't, but I have to for just 2 seconds. I'm sorry. This one's hard because it's in Nashville. So it's a trap game, which we all saw coming if you were paying attention after the Alabama upset. It's in Nashville after a big win, which means there's going to be a lot more people there. And if they can get the momentum swinging, Vandy can get the momentum swinging, this game gets ugly fast for me. It's hard for me not to pick Texas, but another reason is if this game gets ugly, Quinn might get benched. And if that happens, Nashville will go insane. I agree with Robert. I think there's too many ifs that need to happen in order for Vandy to win. So I'm going to pick Texas. But boy, howdy, I think it's 25 and a half or something ridiculous. I don't have it up that they're a favorite.
It's way down now.
It's 18 and a half. It opened at 19
and a half.
Yeah.
Okay. So it was a different game that I got 25 from. That was the JMU game. I'm sorry. It's 18 and a half. Boy, I took that. I take that. Plus 18? Yeah. That's an easy win. It's not in my thing, but there's a freebie for you. That's an easy win. I don't think they're winning this game by 4 scores. I think it's 1.
Other games to mention very quickly. Syracuse is at number 19 Pittsburgh. I believe that's Friday night. Syracuse is Thursday night. That is Syracuse is 5-1, 2-1 in conference. Pittsburgh is 6-0, 2-0 in conference. So this has a lot to do with the ACC championship game there. Take the over, everybody, on that game. And I'll tell you why in just a minute. Number 17, Boise hosting UNLV. Boise and UNLV, both undefeated in the Mountain West. Boise 5-1, only loss coming to Oregon. UNLV 6-1, only loss coming to Syracuse. Number 3, Penn State goes on the road to jump around Camp Randall. Penn State 6-0, 3-0 in conference. Wisconsin, despite being 5-2, 3-1 in conference, so they still are very much in the picture for a Big Ten title, hopefully. Also, Penn State has not covered all year, I believe. I believe Penn State has not covered all year, except maybe week 1 against West Virginia. And then finally, number 22, SMU, goes on the road to Duke. And if you would have told me that Duke would be 6-1, 2-1 in conference, and SMU would be 6-1 and 3-0 in conference, I would have said you were lying. So watch all those games. Let us know what you think. We'll talk about them more next week.
Real quick. That ACC game is kind of insane. Also on the ACC network. If you're the ACC network and the SEC network commentator guys who get these games, you would have never thought you were going to get these big games that people are actually going to watch. So good on them. Also, Rutgers USC, 11 p.m. on Fox on Friday. Is that a trap game for USC? Another one?
No, because USC's bad. So it's not a trap game.
It would be a trap game for Rutgers.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Both the teams are exactly the same. So, no.
My sounds don't want to work. There it goes. All right. It's everyone's favorite time of the podcast, or at least it's mine. Quick update. Micaiah and I both went 1-2, which gave Robert time to catch up. He's now 2-1. But he is still technically in last place at 14-13. Carrie went 4-1.
Yeah, she's back to her winning ways.
So shout out to Carrie. Go over TikTok, Instagram, 4th and 1 Pod and 4th and 1 Podcast, respectively, to go follow those. Micaiah and I are tied at 5-12. And
15-12.
15-12, thank you. And after the pod last week, I got shut down. So no more gimmies, no more layups for AKA. So
you can take money lines. They just have to be underdogs if you take them.
That's gay, and I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
I'm not you. Why?
Noted.
Yeah,
noted.
That's not as fun. What is as fun is taking JMU, who lost badly to Georgia Southern last week, plus 25.5 against the Southern Miss team. That's who was the other person who fired their coach, but it wasn't an offensive coordinator. It was their head coach. Southern Miss fired their head coach. Give me at JMU plus 25.5 to win that game.
No.
Minus 25.5. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh! Finally, like
Stop,
how
Micaiah.
do we do this?
How long have you known me? I am clearly
week.
dyslexic. I get them mixed up. Okay. You would think I know what's right and what's wrong. I get them mixed up. It's not that hard.
Every week.
Robert, it's not that hard.
Robert, you go next.
All right. Well, if y'all been paying attention, you know that Robert likes his weekday games. So we're going to take a little trip. Thursday, October 24th, 7 p.m., we're going to Norfolk, Virginia, because we got Georgia Southern versus Old Dominion, ODU. I don't know a lick about either of these teams, but you know what I do know? Georgia Southern's 5-2, and they just put a shamackin on JMU. And you know what rhymes with JMU? ODU. Give me Georgia Southern +2.
You want to know those two losses for Georgia Southern is... I want to say it's USC and LSU.
For Georgia Southern, it is Boise State and Ole Miss.
Boise State and Ole Miss.
Yeah. So, good losses.
Potato.
Good, great losses.
Great losses for them. All right, Micaiah.
I'm going to go on Thursday. I kind of haven't gone. I've only taken Saturday games. But when I saw this, I just had to take it. It's Syracuse and Pittsburgh. And I told you to take the over in the preview section, and I'll tell you why. Because Pitt's defense is ranked 95th in the nation in pass defense. Okay, they're 95th best. Syracuse is 85th best in pass defense. Meanwhile, Syracuse is the third best passing team, and Pittsburgh is the 15th. I'm expecting yards and yards and yards. Give me the over of 61.5. I locked it in at this afternoon. Not sure what it is now. I think I saw 62.5. But if you can get it for 61, give me 61.5, the over Syracuse and Pittsburgh.
It's a great pick. Don't hate that. Some more confirmation bias for you. The 2 Syracuse games I watched, they would have hit the over. So you should go take that. All right, I'm going to MetLife. Here's the deal: is I need a field goal story with how bad Michigan is doing this year. I need to have fun with my life, and sometimes the podcast doesn't give that to me. But the military academies, these federal schools, are giving me all the feels that I need. That and Vanderbilt, the commies, the Commodores. But I didn't pick Vandy. I picked Navy plus 12.5 against Notre Dame. And that means, ladies and gentlemen, because I technically could have picked the money line, I'm picking Navy to upset Notre Dame this weekend. This is the type of game that Notre Dame will fall flat on their face. So, yes, plus 12.5 and Navy money line. Go Army, beat Notre Dame.
Let's go. On a military base.
On a military base.
Military base.
Hey, they have taken as many knees as the military has. MetLife has.
Let's go.
Robert.
You know what I like about as much as Thursday games?
Tuesday games?
Wednesday games, 7 p.m. Kennesaw, Georgia. We got the Kennesaw State Owls versus the Liberty Flames, even though it's like they have a bird on their thing. However, Liberty 5-0, 3-0 in the conference. USA. Over under 46.5. That's a 23-24 game if I ever saw one, but I think Liberty's probably going to beat them by at least 35. So Kennesaw's just got to show up and put at least 14 on the board. Give me the over.
Let's go. I will be going to the game that no one will be watching, and that's Eastern Michigan and Akron. At least Liberty has some sort of fan base. Listen, Akron is good. Eastern Michigan is actually 5-2, and you're telling me that Eastern Michigan is only getting 3 points on the road in Akron, where it'll basically be a home game for them because the Akron faithful don't want to show up. Listen, if I was an Akron fan, I wouldn't show up either. So give me Eastern Michigan, the former home of the great Max Crosby, to go in there and beat the Zips down by more than 3. Eastern Michigan -3.
The only female mascot in the FBS, the Akron Zips. Micaiah, I don't hate that. For my last pick, it's a little bit disrespectful of a number. This is just straightforward. Nebraska plus 25.5 against OSU. First of all, fuck Ohio State. Second of all,
nice.
Yeah, I just think it's a little. I think they're going to lose. Don't get me wrong. I just don't think it's going to be by 25.5 points. So,
hey, listen,
yeah.
After that beatdown last week, don't hate that pick.
Yeah,
you're playing for pride at this point.
Rob,
what you got?
Also, hold on, Robert.
Oh, sorry.
You made me think about, because of Kennesaw State and they're the Owls, we have to revisit real quick the Owl Gauntlet for UTSA. UTSA beat the FAUs of Florida Atlantic Owls 38-24 last weekend. So that brings them 2-1 on the season against Owl teams.
Let's go.
Now, Robert, go ahead.
Well, I had to choose a Saturday game just because I can't choose all weekday games. Got to keep it a little interesting, a little liveliness. So why not? 10:15 p.m., baby. Ain't watching this one. Colorado and Cincinnati. I'm expecting a shootout. Not going to watch the shootout because I just don't care. Colorado -5.5. I like it. They're kind of getting their groove together. And Cincinnati, I don't know anything about because no one's watched Cincinnati. What? What's that face for?
You've picked more Colorado games
I have,
for how much you hate them. You have
I do.
I think every single week you've picked Colorado.
But you know why? Because even if I lose, it's still a win because chances are if I lose, they lose. It's a win-win for Robert at this point.
It's like betting against your favorite team because you know they're going to fail. Micaiah, are you out of picks or you got one?
No, I got
one?
one more
Yeah,
left,
that's what I
and
thought.
it is the home of the first ever college game day in the state of Indiana. That's not true. I'm sure they've had other game days in the state of Indiana, but it's the first one in Bloomington, Indiana, this coming Saturday for Indiana, Washington. Listen, Indiana has scored over 40 points in every game but their first one. They've scored over 30 points in every single game, including their first one. Well, what does that mean? The over-under is 52.5. Washington plays decently well. They hung 17 on Iowa. Yes, they lost by a bunch, but I expect Indiana to put up 42. That would mean all Washington's got to do is find 3 tutties or maybe 2 tutties and a field goal. I think that is perfect. Give me the over 52.5 and Kirk Cinetti to run up the score against Washington because he has an application out to be an SEC school.
That was the wrong one too, which is cracks me up.
To be an SEC head coach.
We can't always be good. Go take those bets. We'll win you some money. Don't take the parlays. Take them straight on. You'll actually win something.
Wash your hands, you filthy animals. We'll see you next week.